Call to order the Planning and Zoning Commission Wednesday, May 5th, 2021 meeting. It is now 7:04. And to start out with, Planning and Zoning Commission is an independent advisory body of the city of Ames City Council. Planning and Zoning Commission members are volunteers of the community and not part of the city administration. The commission is responsible for the preparation and adoption of official comprehensive plan of the city and gives advice and recommendations on matters involving amendments to the zoning ordinance and historic preservation ordinance and guidelines, subdivisions, annexations, master plans, and major site development plans and developments within the Ames urban fringe areas. As an advisory commission, we welcome all comments and questions. We make our recommendations based on code, the facts presented, the input from the public. If the proceedings become lengthy, we may ask that comments be focused on new information not previously presented. You may speak only once on an agenda item. If you wish to speak, we ask for individuals to use the raise hand function within the Zoom meeting or to use *9 on their telephone and use *6 to unmute. Please state your name, address for the record prior to making any comments. The order of the proceedings for each item on the agenda will be as follows. City staff will present the staff report regarding the agenda item. Commission members will have an opportunity to ask questions of the city staff. The applicants will be invited to make a statement regarding the request. Commission members will have the opportunity to ask questions of the applicant. Members of the audience will be invited to come forward to offer their comments and questions. Once public comments is closed, city staff and the applicant will have an opportunity for concluding remarks. The commission will discuss the application based on all presentations and any comments given and come to a recommendation for the city council. The discussion may include further questions of city staff and the applicant for clarification. With that, we'll move to the first item under the agenda, an introduction of the commission members. I am John Emery. I'm the chairperson.
Doug Regaller.
Ruth Holstrom.
Mike Clayton.
Dan Stanser.
Okay, item number 3, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion from anybody?
Move approval.
This is Ruth. I'll second. Ruth Holstrom.
Mike recommends and Ruth seconds. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. No nays, so the agenda is approved. Number 4, the approval of the minutes of April 21st, 2021. Do we have any discussion on this? Hearing no discussion, I ask for approval or a motion, excuse me.
This is Ruth Holstrom. I would move to approve the. I'll second. Ruth Holstrom.
Doug Regaller recommends, Ruth seconds. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Those who disapprove say nay. Hearing no nays, motion passes. The minutes of April 21st are approved. Item number 5, public forum. Public forum is for public to speak on items not on the agenda. Do we have anybody who'd like to speak?
There are no hands.
No hands?
Correct.
Okay, seeing nobody wishing to speak at the public forum, we'll move on to item number 6. Request to consider a minor amendment to the Ames Urban Fringe Plan land use class map to designate additional urban service area along Lincoln Highway and North 500th Avenue, approximately 26.5 acres. Go ahead. Who's going to do the city, Kelly?
Yeah, Eloise will be presenting the item.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. So this item was initiated by the City Council on April 15th this year. It is an urban fringe plan amendment to the land use class map. It is necessary to support a pending annexation application. The area proposed for the change, as you can see on the location map, is on the north side of Lincoln Highway. It's immediately west of Sunset Ridge. At the west, Sunset Ridge is where the boundary of the city limits currently exists. It's immediately west of there. And then it extends all the way to what we call County Line Road, which is North 500th Avenue. So the entire area that's hatched and that's shown on the map is the area for the annexation as initiated by the City Council. And the area within the black boundary is the area for the land use class change. The area immediately to the north already is designated urban service area. This area for the change includes approximately 26.5 acres, and it was also initiated by the Story County Board of Supervisors, as is required under our 28E agreement for the fringe plan. The fringe plan is a shared use plan for the 2 mile area around the city. One thing that's interesting and somewhat unique about this area, as you can see, all of the brown that surrounds it. Story County goes to North 500th Avenue, and of all the area on the west side of town, this is the only portion on the west side of town that's still remaining as rural urban transition area. In order to be qualified to change to urban service area, the property has to be located immediately next to the city limits, which this is. So to the north and to the south area is already designated urban service area, with the intention that it's immediately adjacent to the city and at some point would be annexed. The 28E agreement lays out the process for these activities, such as annexation, subdivision, plan review, and amendments for lands within the fringe area. The Ames Urban Fringe Plan has 2 important layers of policies that are depicted on, first, the land use class map, which is what you're seeing there. And the land use class map has 3 categories: urban service and agricultural conservation areas. That's the part in gray. The part that is striped is rural urban transition area, and the part in brown is urban service area. Secondly, there's a land use framework map. The land use class map designates property into one of 3 designations, as I just described. The land use framework map identifies types of acceptable uses in the fringe area that match corresponding development policies of the fringe plan. The 28E agreement requires that before any land may be annexed into the city, that the land use class map for a property must have an urban service area designation. The framework map identifies this area as highway-oriented commercial property, Generally, that classification is part of the rural urban transition area land use class. However, policy 10, which was adopted in 2016, specifies that HOC land can pursue annexation if it is within urban service area designation. And additionally, policy 5 of the convenience commercial node states require annexation by the city before land is developed or further subdivided. In some cases, depending on the initial square footage to be developed, type of commercial use, or timing of development, the city may determine that convenience commercial node is to be rural in character and may not be required to be annexed until sometime after initial development. So on the framework map, it shows both the highway-oriented commercial designation for these properties as well as the convenience commercial node. These policies allow the highway-oriented commercial designation to remain when there's also convenience commercial node that is part of the urban service area land use class. This amendment is required to proceed with the annexation. It's consistent with the city's land use policy plan that shows this area as part of the Southwest 1 allowable growth area, which is shown there in to the left. Changing the fringe plan allows the city to proceed with the annexation, the expansion of the city consistent with the land use policy plan. The land also abuts city control right-of-way along Lincoln Way and can be readily served by extensions of city water and sewer. Decisions on use and density and infrastructure capacity will be addressed in subsequent steps of annexation and rezoning. Approval of the amendment is required by both the council and the board of supervisors according to the cooperative 28E agreement. Once both parties have agreed to initiate a change, it can be reviewed as an amendment. And I might add, Story County Planning and Zoning was reviewing and acting on the same request tonight. And I have not heard the results of that meeting just yet. So it is, the purpose of the proposed amendment is to change the current fringe plan land use class from rural urban transition area to urban service area. The request brings a land use map in line with the anticipated growth of the city as reflected in the LUPP growth area map. Both the area to the north of the subject property and to the south of Lincoln Highway, as I mentioned, are already designated urban service area. It will allow the properties to proceed with the annexation process. The urban service area allows Ames to grow in an orderly manner where there's coordination of annexation with a timely and efficient extension of public facilities and services. It's therefore the recommendation of the Department of Planning and Housing that the Planning and Zoning Commission act in accordance with Alternative 1, which states the Planning and Zoning Commission can recommend that the City Council approve a minor amendment to the Ames Urban Fringe Plan land use class map from rural urban transition area to urban service area for the area extending westward from the current city boundary to the county line, approximately 1,500 feet along Lincoln Highway, and northward along North 500th Avenue, approximately 768 feet, comprising approximately 26.5 acres as depicted in attachments A and B. I will note that there's additional data outlined in the staff report relating to fringe plan designations. And this data had been supplied to the City Council when they acted to initiate this action. And so we wanted to provide that to you as well. But I don't feel that I need to review all of that with you tonight. I would welcome any questions.
Okay, we're just doing the 26.5 acres. is
Yes.
What we're talking about, and not talking about annexation, just the land use policy.
Correct.
Any other
Oh,
commission?
Sorry, this is Ruth Holstrom. So the urban fringe map that is on the website, what was the most recent one that was, I guess, adopted? I have one that's from December 29th, 2015.
I believe on the west side of town, the most recent action was the properties just below on the south side of Lincoln Way, that were changed to urban service area. However, I don't know, generally for the entire map, what the most recent change was within the whole city. But that could be the one you're just discussing.
Can you repeat that again, Ruth, what you asked? And can you let the record reflect that a new has arrived at the meeting at 7:20 tonight?
Kelly, so I was looking at a copy of essentially the land use framework map, Ames urban fringe plan, and it's essentially adopted December 22nd, 2015. And it shows obviously the area in question. And I was just curious because the key map, kind of how it outlines it, is urban service area, and then underneath it, there's a couple of options, and essentially it's urban residential, and then it's the community commercial node, convenience commercial node, and then the planned industrial. And so I guess I was just curious whether or not this is the most up-to-date map, and you know, it transitioning to urban service area, is it going to limit the development to urban residential or planned industrial? Or I'm just trying to understand, I guess, that map in context to this situation.
You're talking about the map that's in the report to show the location of the land use class?
No, I'm talking about on the City of Ames website, the actual land use framework map, Ames urban fringe plan. It wasn't included with our packet materials.
So that is not the most up to date, whatever that one is.
Okay.
For sure, it's not reflecting the amendment that was done on the south side of Lincoln Way about 3 years ago, which was reflected in the, which is shown on the graphic that's in the staff report, where it shows that it's brown on the south side of Lincoln Way. When the Trinitas project was in, that was amended from the same designation to become urban service area. So even though they ended up de-annexing that property, the fringe plan amendment still stands. So that was after 2015. And then on the east side of town, there's been some other changes in relation to the to some planned industrial areas and some other areas that were changed in that part of the city.
Okay.
So
essentially,
whatever PDF is online does not reflect the current approved
situation.
Changes. Yes.
Okay. No, perfect. Thank you.
So we will hunt that down after this meeting and remove it from the website.
Thanks, Kelly.
Does anybody else have any questions for city staff about item number 6? And welcome, Anu.
Hi, thanks, John. Just quickly, Kelly, I did arrive at 7:09. If that matters for record's sake.
Yes, it does. So I couldn't see attendees while I was sharing screen. So let the record reflect 7:09 then.
Thank you. I did have a question, and maybe this might be for the second part or the next agenda item where we're talking about the annexation, but do we have a sense, do we have any proposals that have come forth or any interest for this property at this time?
I mean, the short answer is yes. It's probably more pertinent to the annexation discussion.
Okay.
So yes, I mean, the reason this was initiated is because there was a request to annex the land. So this has to be done to be able to process annexation.
Okay. I will save my next question for the next agenda item. Thank you.
Okay.
Guess my question would be is if you could really briefly describe if there's any immediate impact on the existing property owners with a change or an amendment to the to this plan.
Kelly, you want to answer that?
Yeah, it doesn't change that it's in the county, and it doesn't change county zoning. So if this is the only action that happens, there's no change to the land use or zoning on the property. It allows for other changes to occur, but in and of itself, it does not cause a change.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Jens, are you trying to talk?
I was not. Thank you for answering the question.
Okay. Are there any more questions to city staff on this item? Okay, and there's no applicant to this, is there, Kelly?
Yeah, in this case, the city was the applicant. It was an initiation by council. The annexation does have an applicant, but the fringe plan amendment is the city.
Okay, that's what I was asking. Okay, members of the audience, do we have anybody that'd like to offer comments on this? Reminding them that first of all, we need your name and address. And then this is regarding just item number 6, not item number 7 at this time.
So if you're interested in speaking, as John had indicated earlier, try to use the raise hand function, and then I will one by one bring you into the meeting so that you can speak. Right now, there's nobody with their hand raised, John.
Okay.
I take that back. I do have one hand up now.
Okay, go ahead.
Believe it was Amelia. Had her hand.
Where'd she go?
There she is.
I'm
Okay.
back.
All right.
Hello, I'm Amelia Schodeman, Planning and Development Director for Story County. My work address is 906th Street, Nevada, Iowa. And my home address is 807 9th Street in Ames. And I just wanted to report that our Planning and Zoning Commission took action to support the amendment and make that recommendation to our Board of Supervisors this evening.
Okay, thank you, Amelia. Any other public comments? Kelly, anybody else?
I have no one else.
Okay.
So Amelia, I'm going to try to move you back to the attendee side of the webinar. If I lose you, I'm sorry. Please come back. If you want.
Okay,
Ooh, wait, I'm not doing that. It says you won't be able to rejoin. Interesting. All right, John, go ahead and continue.
Okay, we have no other public commenters. Kelly?
Nope.
Okay, the public comment is closed, and the city staff has an opportunity for concluding remarks.
I don't have any other remarks. Just we do ask that you would approve alternative 1.
Okay, commissioners, any other comments or discussion between us? Seeing none, At this time, I will entertain motions.
This is Clayton. I'll move approval of alternative 1, that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommends that the City Council approve a minor amendment to the Ames Urban Fringe Plan Land Use Class Map from rural/urban transition area to urban service area for the area extending westward from the current city boundary to the county line, approximately 1,500 feet along Lincoln Way, and northward along 500th Avenue, North 500th Avenue, approximately 768 feet, comprising an area of approximately 26.5 acres as depicted in attachments A and B.
Okay. And we have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
This is Doug. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, the motion passes with 1, 2, 3, 7 A's. So it passes. And that's what we needed, correct, Kelly?
I think it was 6, all right, we don't have Carol tonight.
Right.
So yes, as long as it's 4 or more, it's a recommendation of the commission.
Okay. Moving on to item number 7, request to consider annexation of lands at the intersection of Lincoln Way and North 500th Avenue, approximately 4.5 acres.
41.5.
On the minutes, just says 4.15. So 41.5? I've lost you, Kelly.
Eloise will go through it. It's closer to 45 acres, yes.
Okay.
Eloise will do that.
Eloise?
All right. So on this item, this is the annexation request. On March 23rd of this year, the City Council voted to initiate the voluntary annexation for 11 parcels. So on the acreage, on the map, that shows the entire acreage, including right-of-way boundaries. In your agenda item, we wanted to break it down. So we said totaling 40.11 acres plus right-of-way, located immediately west of the Ames corporate limits and extending westward along Lincoln Highway to the Boone County line, and then northward along North 500th Avenue. So to the east and to the north is Sunset Ridge subdivision. So it surrounds this quadrant. So I will note that the acreage at time of initiation by the City Council was indicated as 40.75 acres without the right-of-way, and subsequent survey information indicates the acreage is 40.11 acres plus right-of-way. State law permits a voluntary annexation to include up to 20% of the territory with non-consenting abutting properties for the purpose of eliminating islands or creating more uniform boundaries. There are 4 properties considered non-consenting as part of this annexation. And you can see that on attachment A. Well, not on, yes, you can. It's showing as the hatched areas within the annexation territory. You'll see 4 areas that are hatched, and those are the properties that are non-consenting. The other properties were the ones that requested annexation. The conditions of the annexation initiated by the council included defining the annexation territory as the original petition plus all 4 non-consenting properties, plus abutting rights of way, requiring receipts of waiver of withdrawal from the 2 consenting property owners prior to proceeding with the annexation, designating planning and housing staff as representatives in the consultation with township trustees and county supervisors, and directing staff to negotiate a pre-annexation agreement addressing infrastructure needs and developer responsibilities being completed. The action was in response to an annexation petition received from Chuck Winkleblack, which included 7 parcels owned by 2 owners, Flummerfelt Quail Ridge LLC and John R. Crane, along with right-of-way along North 500th Avenue, totaling 36.76 acres. The initial petition did not include a half-acre parcel that is considered an island that's owned by Lemire Land Holdings, LLC, a non-consenting property owner. Islands are not permissible by state law. In order for the annexation to be initiated, the annexation had to include the island parcel under the 80-20 voluntary annexation rule. Additionally, the council determined that the other 3 non-consenting parcels located along the north side of Lincoln Highway should be included in the 80-20 annexation. In this case, there are 3 remaining parcels on the north side of Lincoln Highway, which comprise 5.92 acres of land. The properties are not in a consolidated area, but are rather interspersed among the applicant's properties with private drive extensions down to Lincoln Highway. Access to these properties will be from extensions proposed to be annexed to the city. The inclusion of these properties makes for a uniform boundary along Lincoln Highway, and that's one of the criteria for an 80-20 annexation. To if it's creating a more uniform boundary for the city to be able to service it efficiently, which this is definitely would be doing that. The city already has jurisdiction of Lincoln Highway to the Boone County line at 500th Avenue. Having a uniform boundary along Lincoln Highway will help to ensure efficient provision of city infrastructure as development proceeds, as well as the ability to plan for safe access to the properties from Lincoln Highway. There are 3 separate entities that own property impacted by including non-consenting properties. The property owners of these 3 parcels are Lemire Land Holdings LLC, Brant Lemire, and Brian Adams. Land ownership and acreage is identified in the table and included as attachment F. The 41.11 acre annexation territory includes 6.42 acres of non-consenting parcels. The non-consenting parcels represent 15.6% of the total annexation territory, not including right-of-way. Additionally, the annexation includes approximately 4.04 acres of right-of-way. Before I go over the department recommendation, I did want to highlight a few things in the addendum relating to the land use policy and zoning and relating to the proposal. So first I want to talk a little bit about the development issues and pre-annexation agreement. The applicant has not provided a concept plan for this property. There's been discussion about his preference for how it would be developed, but no formal submittal has been submitted at this time. He has indicated an interest in proposing RLP zoning for a manufactured home park and some commercial zoning. But the decision on the type and extent of zoning areas is not included in this review of initiating the of the annexation process. When a property is annexed into the city, it automatically is zoned as agriculture. Zoning does not change unless a request is initiated by an individual property owner or by the city council. Any proposed zoning must be consistent with the land use policy plan, land use designation. Further development would require rezoning consistent with the village suburban residential land use designation and a commercial node. So this action of rezoning would be sometime in the future as a subsequent action taken by the property owner. Some of the situations that the comments that the city had that would be addressed in a development agreement as part of the annexation would be that there's 2 stub streets from Sunset Ridge that stub into this property. And those streets would need to be extended into this property. It was the intention that Elston Avenue and Springbrook Street would continue into this area with similar FSRL development. And so you can see Springbrook is up by the northeast corner of the territory. Elliston runs north-south, and it's pretty much in the middle, straight up to the north. So we've talked that those 2 streets could be connected together with additional development similar to what Sunset Ridge has. If the entire territory was, or if the residential portion of the territory was not developed in a Sunset Ridge style. So in other words, if they wanted to include some manufactured home area, they would still need to connect those streets and have a portion of the property developed along the lines of what Sunset Ridge has. But as I mentioned, at this point in time, that's just been preliminary discussions and nothing has been submitted. Transportation improvements, the city traffic engineer has discussed about the traffic impacts and that a traffic impact study would need to be pursued by the developer prior to rezoning. So that process has been initiated. That study will indicate where turn lanes should be included and that type of thing that would be needed before any development of this property. So we're anticipating that the southwest corner of the property would develop as commercial along the lines of the convenience commercial node that's required. It requires some commercial on this property. And it's not a great deal commercial, but there would be some set aside for that purpose. The water, there is infrastructure available for this development of this property. We look at what is available, where it's at, and how far it would be to access it, connect into it, and so forth. For water, there is water stubbed at Lincoln Way at the city boundary. That water main would need to be extended on Lincoln Way over to North 500th Avenue and then up and connect into the Sunset Ridge stub that would be on North 500th Avenue. That would create a looped service area, which is what we always prefer in the city, to have looped services for efficiency. Sewer is available from Durant Street. Durant Street is not a street that would connect into this development. It stubs at a green area, at some green space, but the sewer that's also stubbed in that area would be able to extend into this territory to service it. And when the line was put in, it was sized accordingly so that it could service this area. This property would need to be replatted. It currently was previously platted with 6,000 square foot lots with 50-foot rights of way that was recorded in the county at one time. And so it would need to be replatted to eliminate those previous divisions. As part of the state mandated annexation process, city staff invited the Washington Township trustees and the Story County Board of Supervisors for a consultation meeting. That was held on April 14th via Zoom. And those in attendance were from Story County Board of Supervisors, Story County Planning Director, City of Ames Planning and Housing Director, and City of Ames attorney. No one from Washington Township was able to attend the meeting or did attend the meeting. And no comments have yet been received from that meeting as of the writing of this report. So additionally, next steps, once after this, if this does receive the recommendation to move forward, prior to an annexation, the city council is required to hold a public hearing. It is expected, we are anticipating that public hearing would be held on May 25th at the city council meeting, and it would be noticed accordingly. Following the city council's approval of the annexation and adoption of a resolution to that effect, the annexation does have to go to the State City Development Board for a hearing due to the inclusion of the non-consenting property owners as an 80-20 annexation. The State City Development Board then becomes the final approval authority. So that would occur sometime after May 25th, their processes. So staff would like to conclude by asking the Planning and Zoning Commission to recommend alternative 1, that the city council approve the 80-20 annexation of 11 parcels and abutting rights of way totaling 41.11 acres of real property, rights of way acreage not included in the calculation, for the properties located immediately west of the Ames corporate limits and extending westward along Lincoln Highway to the Boone County line along North 500th Avenue in Washington Township, Story County, Iowa, by finding that the proposed annexation is consistent with the land use policy plan and urban fringe plan, and that the proposed annexation territory eliminates potential island and creates more uniform boundaries. Annexation will be subject to a development agreement addressing infrastructure needs and the developer responsibilities being completed. I did not go over the land use map criteria or any of those details. There are a couple of attachments that highlight there again the land use class map, the framework map showing the highway oriented commercial area and the urban residential area, and then also the allowable growth areas. So we do find that this is in compliance with the land use policy plan, given that the area that we previously discussed, that we're requesting that change be to urban service area. And with that request, then we do support the annexation of this territory. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, first of all, they're planning on keeping that frontage road in there that they have right now. That's owned by Story County, correct?
The frontage
I don't
road,
think, John, I don't think there's any known development details of the property.
Well, there is a frontage road there right now.
There's a driveway there. I don't know there's a frontage road. It's not shown as right of way.
Then
On
what?
the southwest corner.
Right. Then what is the right of way that shows Story County owning?
that would be the Lincoln Highway right of way. The black line goes down to the center of that line. Yeah, that's a better depiction of it. So it shows the properties, and then south of the properties, there's an area that is considered part of the right of way for Lincoln Highway. And that's also the same on North 500th Avenue.
Okay.
That's where the right of way is.
Okay. Any other commission members have questions to ask of the city staff? Okay, hearing none, members of the audience are invited to come forward.
So typically would have the applicant speak first.
Oh, excuse me, you're right. Okay, the applicant is invited to make a statement. I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself there.
Okay. Chuck, you should be able to unmute yourself. There you go.
Okay, good evening, commission and staff. Chuck Winkleblack here, 105 South 16th Street, speaking on behalf of the applicant, Mike Flummerfelt, Quail Ridge. Just think it's important, and staff laid out, that this is annexation only. We will have much more discussion about the potential uses for the property as we get to the rezoning portion. One thing that staff, I don't have the report in front of me, but I think it is important to note that by state statute, all the ground upon annexation comes in as ag classification. So by virtue of the annexation, does not entitle the landowner to do anything with the property. That's all done through the rezoning request. So I just would urge your approval for the annexation of this annexation area. I know there's some non-consenting parcels involved, and when we made the request, our request was only for the areas that were a voluntary annexation, and that it's the city staff and city, I think, council's wish that those areas be brought in as non-consenting to even up the city boundaries. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Other than that, I have no further statement.
I've noticed there's work going on out there right now. What's happening there?
The only work going on right now is they're still finishing up some of the removal of the concrete pad from what was the old implement dealership out there, and some of the ground is being worked so that the grasses can be planted to keep the weeds under control. But there's no development activities on the site at this time. We don't have the permits. We don't have the with the DNR, any of the things to move dirt, to start development. None of those things have been turned in or asked for. What we're doing now is simply stabilization and removal of the existing concrete pads.
Hey Chuck, this is Anu here. Do you have a sense of the timeline for what the applicant is thinking? to do?
As soon as annexation is completed, I believe we will be forthcoming as soon as city staff says that they can accept an application for rezoning. I don't know what the timeline is for the city development board, but certainly as soon as we're able to make a request for rezoning, logistically, that's the applicant's intent.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I guess I have one other thing for you, Chuck, is going to be asking for drainage district elimination in there.
I guess I'm not familiar with, I've not heard that term before, Mr. Chairman. I've never been asked that question before in almost 30 years. I don't know what that means.
Right now, it is that area, is outside of the city, it's in a drainage district. And after we bring it into the city, if we bring it into the city, then it's still going to be in that drainage district and will be taxed as such too.
I would defer to staff, to Kelly and Eloise, on how that is handled. I just simply don't know how that's been dealt with in the past.
We don't have a lot of experience with it, but just being annexed does not change your status as being a part of a drainage district. So that's something for the property owner to investigate on how their property benefits or doesn't benefit from being in that district.
The city doesn't actively address the drainage districts that are out, well, the drainage districts. Go ahead.
Yeah, the planning department doesn't deal with drainage districts. That's the municipal engineer's function. So I don't have a whole lot of experience on how we interact with the drainage districts themselves.
I just know that in that drainage district, and Amelia might be able to even help on this, they're taxed through the drainage district, and the city taxes are also in there.
That's true, but I don't know any more than that. And it doesn't really relate to the annexation as far as I understand. We've had this conversation on the south side of Lincoln Way in the past, and from my recollection then, it's just an issue that's not related to the annexation or the zoning that happens in the future.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions of Mr. Winkleback?
Okay, we can move on to members of the public. Again, if you want to press the raise your hand function, I will individually unmute you and ask you to unmute yourself after that, and you can address the commission. I'm going to start with Linda D. She is the first one to raise her hand. So you should be able to unmute.
And remember, you need to introduce yourself and state your name and address.
My name is Linda DeShane. I live at 618 Wilder Avenue. I would just like to say that I am vehemently opposed to the development of this property becoming a manufactured home park. I have extreme concerns about the non-consenting properties, that they will just be kicked out of their home. Manufactured homes will degrade the value of my home and the homes of Sunset Ridge. Our property value will decrease. I have seen these manufactured home parks in other parts of Ames. We have just built a park. There's no way to control what goes on in that park. It is adjacent to this property. I have fears that our brand new park, that our subdivision put in personal funds to get built, and then we are responsible for, that there could be excessive use to the park. The gentleman that spoke earlier, Mr. Winkleback, he said there's no work being done. There's a lot of work that's been done. I can see this property every day. they cleared, if you look at the picture that you provided of the aerial view of the satellite map, all those trees are gone. Every tree was taken out and leveled. He said that they're clearing the land of weeds so that grasses can be planted. No, they're grading the land. It is now more flat. That is the work that's being done. I'm very passionate about this. I've been following this and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker up is Ron and Jean Eichmeyer. Should be able to unmute.
Yes, I have a question. We've talked about drainage. We've talked about water and sewer. Why would the city of Ames want to annex agricultural property without knowing what it's going to be used for? I think the discussion today has been, we're just annexing, we don't have a plan. Why don't we have a plan before we do an annexation decision?
Eloise, you want to answer that, or Kelly?
Well, I think it's up to the comments are to the commission. It's not a staff conversation. I can answer that one. There is a plan. The city's land use plan designates at least half of the property for housing purposes. It doesn't specify precisely what type of housing. The area along Lincoln Way, because of that node, also is expected to have some element of convenience commercial there. Those precise boundaries are what are decided at zoning. So there is a plan for the general mix of commercial and housing, but the precise delineation is not a step in the annexation process.
So wouldn't something more precise be beneficial for tonight's discussion?
I'm just outlining the city's policies and how we do annexations across the city and the different steps that go into development review. So I'm not going to say it's good or bad. I'm telling you what the process steps are that the city has adopted.
Okay, is there any other members of the public that'd like to have a chance to speak?
Yeah, next up is Mr. Adams. You should be able to unmute.
All right, Brian Adams, 5507 Lincoln Way. And a reminder that you are pushing for an 80-20 annex on this property without a plan. They bring up a good comment about the drainage district cost will be applied to more people than you've invited to the meetings here. And you don't know how much it's going to cost them for the storm sewer for this area. I'm not in favor of annexing my personal property because I don't feel that it's going to gain you any value and it's not required. I'm not sure why you're forcing this on us, because if you could bring up attachment C on page 11 on that picture there, I'll show you that you seem to be unfairly running this rule versus you're not applying this to everywhere you work in the city. Can you bring that picture up, please? It's in the section 7 handout.
You're talking about attachment A?
Well, while we're waiting for the picture to come up, the property, oh, here we go. Thank you, Kelly. You see the green box to the left of where it says Lincoln Way, the big green box there, between the white of the city limits, and has a tiny little area attaching. Somebody did a lot of work rezoning and reworking that deal to make that big box not part of the city. And it does not make an even crisp line with the city. It's kind of in the way on getting utilities across that property. Somehow That property was not allowed to have the bike path for many years because it wasn't city property. And bike path got in there recently here. So there's been a lot of hesitation with that property, but it's never been annexed. And now, property farther out that has attachment to other county, you're forcing an 80-20 annex. And that's not, I don't know, it's not nice. And I don't see the value in it. The convenience commercial zone that you put on the corner lot there, this zone keeps moving with every rendition of the city's plan, and it seems to move at the discretion of transactor developer. They put it here, they don't get enough money for it, so they move it again. And so this must not be a priority for the city. So I wouldn't want people on the committee here to feel that there will be commercial property that is convenient commercial zone, because it keeps moving with every rendition, it moves. So it's not a priority for the city. It's just something that keeps showing up on there that people put on because the fringe plan or the some plan says you need to put it, but it moves and it does not. That's all I have to say.
Okay, Kelly, do we have anybody else that wants to speak?
And next up is Brant. Brant, you should be able to unmute.
Okay. Excuse me. Thank you. Brant Lemire, 5333 Tabor Drive, Sunset Ridge subdivision here. And also property at 5615 Lincoln Way, the 3 parcels there. But yeah, I've had lots of questions that need to be answered by the city to eliminate any uncertainty in the process of this annexation. Not necessarily opposed to annexation, but would like to confirm allowable uses from a transition of commercial light industrial zoning in the county to ag zoning in the city. Would like to confirm tax implications, would like to know where the road connections to Lincoln Way be allowed, would be maintained existing, or what the alternatives would be. Would like to know the process of utility connections to property. These are just a few of such questions asked well over a year ago when this requesting property was in process of transfer. At this time, staff stated cannot answer such questions until an actual plan is submitted from the requesting party. I respected such, but now I'm confused why this annexation submitted now or in March of 2021 with no plan. And annexation requests moving awful fast with no answers to repeated questions or direction of city's future plan for the commercial frontage, if any. In referring to this commercial frontage I just mentioned, the reason I say if any is in past conversations, meetings, this frontage area was mainly addressed to be commercial from the existing city border by the townhomes in Sunset Ridge development all the way to 500th, which that Eloise mentioned the story, Boone County Line Road there. Such is all affirmed in the urban fringe plan in the past, the land use plan, and even the 2040 plan. Now such is stated only 3 to 5 acres concentrated on the corner, as Eloise stated, as a commercial node. We could say approximately from this commercial frontage, if you will, from 15 acres down to now 3 to 5. Okay, and that's fine. So, what do you, Planning and Zoning Commission, would like to see this area along Lincoln Way frontage? So far, from my understanding, currently there is only comments of this 35 plus acre area, or 40 that we've been mentioning, or I don't know what it is without the non-consenting. Area is a whole as a residential or RLP. Let me rephrase that. So from our understanding currently, that there's only comments of this 35 acre area as a whole as residential RLP. So if plan would be bring residential RLP all the forward to touch the Lincoln Way frontage, would you Planning and Zoning be okay with such? If so, I would support such request for RLP manufactured housing, maybe. the city of Ames needs affordable housing. Also, may not oppose to FSRM or HOSC as alternatives to RLP. A question to you is, what type of zoning would you prefer along the Lincoln Way? Just the left frontage again, I'm getting at eventually. I apologize, I kind of jumped around on a few things here, but I would like to see this sent back to staff for more staff review before we go any further on annexation. I do not want to stand in the way or delay in any way the applicant on his development process, or of course any growth in West Ames. But it would be nice to be fair with existing property owners who have been there for many, many years and in process of improving property as well. Thank you.
Okay. Kelly, do we have any other members of the public wishing to speak?
At this point, I don't see any other raised hands. There's a few other people in the audience, but I don't see any hands. So if there's anyone else that wants to speak, now would be a good time to raise your hand. I see none, John.
Okay. The public comment section is now closed, and city staff and the applicant now have an opportunity for concluding remarks. I guess we can start with Chuck. Do you have Winkleback? I think I'm saying that right. Do you have any other comments you want to make?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Only that, we will have plenty of time to discuss the zoning implications. I realize that it's the process that we have to follow, and it is confusing or hard to follow for some that don't deal with it on a regular basis. But this is by state statute that we can't deal with annexation and zoning at the same time. It has to come in as ag, and that allows for us to plan and the city to plan. The city has designated this area for development. It's in their tier 1 plan for development. So I would just urge your approval for the annexation, and we will have plenty of time to have the zoning debate as it moves forward. So I would respectfully ask your approval for the annexation to move forward to the city council, and we will have plenty of time to debate the use in the future. Thank you.
Okay, city staff, any other comments?
I'll make a few comments just to start. We do understand that there have been some questions. Staff has addressed questions. In some cases, the questions have not been able to be answered, as mentioned, if it's relating to rezoning, which is a subsequent process. But where we could answer the question, we have answered the questions. When properties are annexed into the city, it does allow for more efficient infrastructure and the opportunity for utility connections for those properties. And so rather than having to work around something that's in the county in an inefficient way, it allows for efficiency and for urban services to be available for those properties. I also wanted to comment that, as mentioned, that the annexation will come subsequently. Sometimes there is a plan that is submitted initially with an annexation, but that's not always the case. It's not required to be the case. So we are following the process that's available, and we will. What I also did want to comment about is that there will be a public hearing at the city council meeting, as well as the city development board meeting. both of those will have hearings. So voices can be heard at that time as well as tonight. We would just, as staff, ask that you would proceed with this annexation. We believe that it is justified for the city to grow in this direction, and this is the first step in accommodating future growth to the west. That's all I have.
Kelly, you wanted to say something?
No, I don't have anything to add.
Okay, the commission's discussion on this item. I understand that we are not being asked to decide how the land will be used, just that for the annexation. And I kind of agree with Linda about the manufactured homes coming in. I don't think it fits the city right there. I know that the trailer park was there previously, but we're just being asked about the annexation right now. That's the only thing that we can decide. Anybody else?
Yeah, this is Ruth Holstrom. I guess, yeah, I'd echo some of your comments, John. I mean, obviously we're being asked right now just to consider the annexation before us. However, it does sound like there's at least been some consideration by the potential developer of this site regarding what they're hoping to potentially do with it, with the property in question. And so I feel like with that being the case and there being concern about that potential use, that I guess I have some concerns there. I understand what's before us, but at the same time, just given the concerns from, you know, the surrounding residents and some of the existing property owners that are non-consenting, it would be nice if obviously the proposed developer would, I don't know, provide some more details. And it sounds like that's something that this has been in the works for a while. So yeah, that's just my thoughts right now.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Ruth. I'd like to be able to ask more questions and things and about this property. You know, I know that this property floods. A lot of it floods, and that was a problem with the mobile home park in the first place. And I can address something I think is Mr. Adams about the drainage district is through the county, not through both Boone and Story County, not through the city. And the rate has been set already for quite some time. They always throw other stuff in there. So the city has nothing to do with the drainage district. I feel they should have control of any of the taxes within the city limits, but that's not what we're dealing with here. And with the uses, if this gets annexed, that'll be before us sooner or later, and we can decide if we dislike it or not individually. Anybody else? Doug, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I mean, to me, in looking at the future of the city and the desired growth plans, eventually this is going to be annexed. So annexing it allows for those discussions about specific use to take place. So to me, I think I would support the annexation.
Anything else, Doug?
Nope.
Okay. Jens, do you have any comments?
Thank you, John. I would say that, it was great to hear from the community on their concerns and what they had to say. My personal view is that I would like to see Ames grow this way. I will support the annexation, but I would encourage the public to, this is not the end of, this is not the final decision, and so continue to make your voice heard at the with the developer and with the city council as the zoning goes forward. That's what I've got to say.
Right. Okay, Mike, do you have any comments?
Just that I would agree with what had been said. The question before us tonight is regarding the annexation itself and the actual future land use or zoning changes that are going to be taking place. That would be for a future meeting when those proposals are made.
Okay, Ruth, any other last things, Ruth?
No, again, I understand what's before us tonight, and I definitely feel like it's important for the public to stay engaged with this process as it moves forward, so that obviously their comments can be heard by their representatives. And yeah, I mean, just given the current situation, I would definitely support the annexation. But I still do have, concerns based on what, the public provided. I also do have worries based on what Linda mentioned about the grading and tree removal that she believes has been occurring, even though the owner applicant stated that nothing's been going on. It just seems a bit strange, I guess. So yeah. Anyways, that's all my thoughts for right now. Thanks.
Like I said, I know there's a lot of dirt work going on there because I drive by it all the time. That I just the only thing up in front of us that I can question is about the annexation itself. And I agree with Jens and I think Doug that Ames will be growing, and this will be annexed sooner or later. I know it will. But the way it's zoned is a discussion for later. Anu, any questions?
Thanks, John. I guess there are several questions again, as everyone else has raised, but this is not the point for most of those questions of mine. I think those would need to be raised down the line as we start looking at rezoning and have an actual plan or a conceptual plan in front of us to react to. At this point, since we're all only dealing with and considering the annexation of the land, I think that's kind of all that we would probably look at. While I am familiar with the regulations, and I probably have seen and worked with it a little more closely than a lot of people, I still worry just a little bit. I'm familiar with the 80-20 annexation, and I know what the intent and goal is. But despite that, and it's not something that's going to make me hold my vote, but despite that, I worry a little bit that the non-consenting properties seem to form most of the actively used parcels in the entire annexation area at this point. Eloise, I see you are shaking your head. Is there something
I'm shaking my head because someone was waving at me.
Okay,
Not
okay,
because of what you were saying.
okay. No, I was just, again, going back to that, I think that's a little bit of my worry, again, because it's not that's just looking at the facts and the rules that we need to look at for the annexation. It's not something that I will hold my vote back on. I will still approve and recommend approval of the annexation, but I will like to put it on record that it worries me that most of the non-consenting properties seem to be the most actively used in the entire annexation boundaries. And I think that is something, even though it does not directly impact the recommendation we make today, I think that is something both the applicant today as well as the city council and all of us need to keep track of as we go forward with this entire area as proposals come forth in the future, and make all the efforts to include public hearings and to include people through neighborhood meetings or other kinds of outreach to get maximum input. And to that extent, I would like to thank everyone of the neighbors and people who have attended the meeting today. And I really strongly encourage you to make your voice heard right from the next public hearing for the annexation at the council meeting, and also through the process, because what you want to happen on that property needs to be clarified and needs to be conveyed to the commission staff and the council through the whole process and right from the beginning. So I would really strongly encourage you to stay plugged in and to make sure that you voice your concerns and your desires for that property.
Okay. I agree wholeheartedly. Anu, I've lived through non-consenting annexation before with my parents, and going forward, I suggest that the developers reach out and talk more with the surrounding property owners too. It's when they're bringing forward for rezoning, there's going to be some hard questions. Any other commission members have any more comments? Okay. Chair will entertain on the motion.
This is Doug. I move approval of alternative one, and that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend that the City Council approve the 80-20 annexation of 11 parcels and abutting rights of way totaling 41.11 acres of real property. Rights of way acreage not included in the calculation for the properties located immediately west of the Ames corporate limits and extending westward along Lincoln Way to the Boone County line along North 500th Avenue in Washington Township, Story County, Iowa, by finding that the proposed annexation is consistent with the land use policy plan and urban fringe plan, and that the proposed annexation territory eliminates potential island and creates more uniform boundaries. The annexation will be subject to a development agreement addressing infrastructure needs and developer responsibilities being completed.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Doug made the motion, Mike seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed say nay. Seeing no nays, the motion is approved. Okay. Item number 7, commission comments. Anybody? Okay, I'll just go down the line again. Doug, you're first up. Any comments?
No comments. Just maybe a question for staff. Just in general, has there been any discussion about bringing people back in person? Is that on the horizon at all?
City Council hasn't brought up a date right now. They're through June 30th remote. I don't know when before June 30th they're going to discuss it. Staff believes that once council's decided how they're going to return to City Hall, then the boards and commissions will follow that same pattern. But I don't have any specifics yet.
Okay, Jens, do you have any comments?
Do not.
Do not. Mike Clayton, any comments?
Do not.
Ruth, any comments?
I do not have anything right now.
Anu, any comments?
None, thank you.
Okay. The only comment I have is that I guess I can't direct it at Amelia, but I think the city should look into the drainage districts that are within the city limits and eliminating them. And that has to go, I know it has to go through Story County. That'd be you, Amelia. And
John, that's not going to be part of your purview as the P&Z. So if that's an issue that concerns you, I think you'd have to bring it up as a citizen.
right, all I'm doing is talking about it in comments is all. And no more commission comments, staff comments. Eloise,
I don't have anything.
Kelly,
I have nothing else.
Natalie,
No, thank you.
okay. Oh, the one other thing on item number 7 on the agenda, there's a typo with it says 1.5 acres. Might want to correct that when you send out the.
Okay.
Okay. And at this time, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
This is Ruth Holstrom. I'll move to adjourn.
Okay, second.
This is Jen Sanster, second.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we are adjourned.